Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. I am super excited about today's video because for the first time ever, I am doing a review first impressions on Natasha Denona. Okay, first of all, when I think Natasha Denona, I think very expensive. Like, that's the first thing that comes to mind. I also have a little bit of a question mark surrounding the brand Natasha Denona because I've never tried anything from her brand, especially her eyeshadow formula. I know everyone raves about it. They say it's one of the best eyeshadow formulas on the market, and I want to see if that's true. I have honestly seen a lot of reviews on the retro palette because I really wasn't sure if I wanted to go ahead and spend $65 on this eyeshadow palette. And first of all, the color story on this palette is absolutely beautiful. This is the first Natasha Denona palette that truly caught my eye. And when something catches my eye and I constantly keep going back to it and checking it out, I'm like, okay, I must really want this product if I keep stalking this product. Is anyone else like that, or is it just me? But I finally did it. I put up a poll on my community page, and a lot of you guys said you guys want to see a video dedicated to this palette. I wasn't sure. I know I'm a little bit late. This came out maybe 2 weeks ago, but I really was trying to contemplate if it was worth $65 just from not even using it. But I'm gonna let y'all know everything in today's video. I'm gonna give you guys all the swatches. We're gonna play with the eyeshadows, see if they're really worth the hype and if they're really worth $65, because girl, $65 is a lot for an eyeshadow palette. This is probably the most expensive eyeshadow palette in my collection to date. First it was the Norvina ABH palette, which is $60, but this one is $65. So let's go, let's zoom in, and let's see if this is worth my $65. Okay, so I have my base done. I'm honestly really excited about how my base looks today. Girl, I just love when I can sit down and take my time and do my makeup, and I'm really loving how my base looks. It looks really, really good. All of the products will be listed down below in the description for you guys in case you guys are curious on what's on my face and things like that. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So like I said, this does retail for $65. You can get it now on Natasha's website or at Sephora. First impressions. So I just took this out of the box and I've seen this all online and things like that. I will say, when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, if I'm gonna pay over $50, I would love to see the eyeshadow palette look like it's worth that price or more. For example, Glamlight's palettes are, I don't know if I really could compare Glamlight's palettes. I'm trying to figure out which brand has its palettes are pretty. Lunar Beauty. Let's talk Lunar Beauty. Lunar Beauty's palettes are I want to say $52 maybe. I can't remember. I think 52 is right though. Their palettes are $52, but it's worth it. Even if just looking at it, you see okay, money went into the packaging design. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily know if it's the same for Natasha Denona, because when I look at this particular palette, my first thought is it looks cheap. Maybe the price point goes to the eyeshadow formula, which I definitely could see that being the case, because everyone buys these palettes. I'm guessing the packaging doesn't play a big role in them purchasing this palette. So maybe all the money does go to the formula. I'm honestly not sure, but that's just something I wanted to bring up because normally packaging is the first thing you see, and that's what gravitates you into the palette. For me, with this particular one, I saw the color story and I was immediately, I want that palette. Normally, packaging will play a big part, but I do wish that there was a little bit more to the packaging. I know she has the Zendo palette. That is the same type of packaging. It does cost a lot more, but at least there's a design on the front, if you guys get what I'm saying. One thing I do love about this palette is that on the back there are all these little holes so you can punch them out and rearrange the shades any kind of way that you want to. I think that's super cool. I'm sure a lot of you guys already knew that though, because I feel like I'm the last one to the party when it comes to this eyeshadow formula. But yeah, the inside. This is just absolutely beautiful. This is my kind of shades. I kid you guys not. This is stunning. It is so stunning. It's on the muted berry toned kind of side. I know this is supposed to be like a bigger version of her like mini retro, but I've seen a lot of people talk about the mini retro. Personally, I wasn't a fan of that color story, but this one definitely does speak to me, and I'm really excited to play with this. I'm gonna go into this shade right here called Amara, and I'm gonna take that shade and I'm kind of gonna like start to place it in the outer corner. Oh, this is so pretty. Very pretty shade. And then I'm just gonna take what's left and kind of bring it throughout the crease, kind of as like my transition shade, almost. So far, this shade is blending out really beautifully. I have no complaints with this shade. And I do have my MAC paint pot down as my like base. And now that I have this shade all blended out, I want to blend out the edges with, I think I want to go ahead and blend out the edges with this shade right here called Nude Mauve. Just like that. That looks super good. It's really gray. This is not like a combination I would normally put down, but I think it is very interesting. This is a very, very interesting palette, I will say. And now what I'm going to do is go into this shade right here called Groove. This is a really, really pretty shade. This is like the deepest shade in the palette. So I'm going to take this shade and just plop it in my outer corner. Going to just kind of like add a little bit of depth on the outer corner. Definitely does deepen up this eye look. Just so pretty. Oh, I love these tones. These tones are stunning. And I just love what this shade does. And I didn't, honestly, just looking at this in the pan, it doesn't look like this shade would get as deep as it does in the outer corner. But I love that, because I was just about to say, I kind of wish there was like a even darker shade in here. But I don't think we need it, because we have that shade that's building up to be really, really deep. And I love it. I'm kind of like, it's really giving me like those smoky kind of vibes that I was hoping for. I'm going to take a little bit of this shade Rebellion. I mean, it's pretty similar to Groove, but I do think it's that cream to powder formula. I just want to see what that does on top of the shade Groove. It kind of just like brightens it up a bit, but like I said, I want to use as many shades in this palette as possible. This is that cream to powder formula. I mean, it is picking up on a brush, but I do have to kind of work it in. Like I said, this is my first time using this particular formula, so I'm not too familiar with it, but it is something I'm really excited to discover and play with. Okay, now that I feel like we are extremely smoky, this shade right here is calling my name. This shade right here is also calling my name, but I don't know which one I want to use. There's so many pretty shades. I'm going to take the shade Helio, which is this one right here, and we're going to start to put this on kind of like a little bit of a base almost, like right here in the outer portion of the lid. It's kind of going to be like our base, because I feel like those shades that I said I initially wanted to go in with kind of look like a glitter kind of topper. At least one of them does. I'm not too sure about it, so I'm just going to put this down as my base. Wow, these are so pretty. I'm like already like falling in love with this look. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the shade, is this the topper shade? Oh yeah, Psychedelic is the topper kind of shade. It looks pretty. Oh, ooh, that's so pretty. Okay, we're gonna go into the shade Glitz. Yeah, we're gonna take the shade Glitz, which is this one right here. And this one doesn't look too much like a topper, but we're gonna place this here in the inner corner, and then I'm just gonna take my brush to kind of like diffuse it out. This shade definitely does have fallout. Oh no, this shade does have a ton of fallout, and I didn't even really need to use my finger with this. This shade picks up really beautifully with a brush, so that's nothing you have to like really worry about. I will say those two shades look pretty similar on the lid. So, I don't know. I'm going to wipe this fallout off because it's messing up my base. And no! I'm going to go in with the shade Psychedelic, because that's the shade that looks like that topper shade. And I'm just going to kind of like pat it all on the center. Not really bringing it too much in the inner corner. I'm focusing it really on the center. I'm going to go back into the first brush I went into with that crease shade. No extra product. And I'm just going to kind of like run my brush through my crease to kind of clean it up. If you like if it gets a little bit messy, you can just do this little trick and it like cleans it up. I'm going to go back into the shade Rebellion, which is that cream to powder shade. And I'm just going to take it and diffuse it into the shades we just put down. Very stunning. I feel like all of these shades just go together so well. They all just complement each other so well. I knew there was a reason why I really was intrigued to pick up this palette. I knew it. I just knew it. I'm gonna go into the shade Groove right here, and I'm gonna take that shade and place it on my lower lash. I'm also going to go ahead and go in with a little bit of this shade right here called Amara. And I'm just going to take that to kind of like soften up the lower lash and drag it upwards. I think I'm going to take the shade Psychedelic and bring that back into the inner corner because it is so pretty. I do wish there was another inner corner kind of shade that was kind of like light enough. I mean, I could go in with a little bit of the shade Maud, which I think I might, to kind of like add something to this look. Maud is this like white shade in the palette, but Psychedelic and Maud are the only two shades that are pretty light enough to be inner corners. So that is one thing I'm noticing. Ooh, this shade Maud is so pretty. But yeah, so I mean, we do have our inner corners there, but I do wish there were more shades in this palette that could work for an inner corner. I'm going to go ahead and add some lashes and mascara, and we'll be back for my final thoughts. I'm also going to go ahead and finish up the rest of my face, but yeah, we'll be back for my final thoughts on this new Natasha Denona palette. Alright guys, so here is the finished look. I went a little bit dramatic with the lashes because I felt like this look was like full on like soft glam. Well, I feel like this look was pretty like glam, so I was like, you know what, let me throw on some really big dramatic lashes with this look, and I really love how this look turned out. I think it's beautiful, and this eyeshadow palette, I really love it. I don't know, it's gonna take me a while to kind of like justify $65 for an eyeshadow palette because I still think that's really expensive, but the formula is pretty good. So it really is like up to you kind of situation. If you think that this palette is worth $65, definitely go ahead and pick it up. I think the color story is beautiful, or if you're not really in a rush to pick this up, you could wait until Sephora has like their savings event. But if you've already tried Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palettes and really you're watching this video just to see like how this particular palette performs or like how it looks on someone of my complexion or things like that, I definitely think this is a palette you could go ahead and pick up, especially if you already love Natasha Denona's formula. So far, I didn't use all the shades in this palette, but best believe this palette will be in another video with another eye look. I'm really excited about it. I think this is so pretty. This is my color story. I loved it. I'm happy that I finally got to try out Natasha Denona's eyeshadow formula. Now, I think from just looking at it, I kind of can tell which ones are like the cream to powder shadows. I didn't have a problem with those shadows at all. I mean, they picked up, which is crazy. Like, I didn't think it'll pick up like with a brush, but it definitely does pick up with a brush. So if you're worried about that, I truly wouldn't be. And the shimmers are amazing. I will say the Psychedelic shade is a topper shade, so it's not something you could just put on its own. It's something you have to like put on top of another eyeshadow. And the only thing that I have to say about this palette, aside from like it being just so expensive, but it is a really good quality palette, is that I do wish there was at least another shade, or at least, yeah, I really do wish that there was another shade in this palette that could be a nice inner corner highlight kind of shade, because we do have this matte white-ish kind of shade. It's not really white, but it kind of has like a pinkish undertone to it. This is a matte, and then the only other shade that would work as an inner corner highlight would be this pink shade right here. This shade right here is a little bit too deep to be an inner corner highlight. I do feel like there's a couple of shades in this palette that are kind of like repeat shades where we didn't really need that. It could have easily been another color. For example, Groove and Rebellion, the only difference between the two truly is this one's a little slightly, it's like a hint deeper, but it is that cream to powder formula. And then we have these two shades right here. They are both mattes. One is a cream to powder formula, but they look super similar. I don't feel like we needed both of those shades in this palette. These two shades are also pretty similar. I feel like there's not really much differentiation. Once again, one is a cream to powder formula, the other one is a regular powder formula. So I do feel like some of the shades in here could have been easily put into another shade, but all in all, this is a really beautiful palette. It performs absolutely well. I love my eyeshadow. I love my eyeshadow look. This is definitely right up my alley. I highly recommend this 1000%. It is good. It is pricey, so if you're not in a rush to get it, definitely wait for that Sephora savings event. But if you really want it and you can't wait, go ahead and pick it up because it is a really beautiful palette and the hype is very much real on the formula. Now, I might start getting into Natasha Denona, who knows. I did buy the Love palette because it was 50% off at Sephora. I think it was like $32. I picked it up. I haven't tried it yet. It did arrive to me like a couple days ago, but I haven't tried it, and I wanted to save like my first impressions on the formula for this particular video. But I'm really excited that I picked this up. Definitely a splurge item, 1000%. But if you want to splurge, you want to treat yourself, you got something coming up, girl, treat yourself. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope it was helpful for you guys in making a decision on if you want this palette or not, or if you just wanted to see this palette in action. I don't know, but I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.